How's it going, everybody? This is John. It is Thursday, April 16th, and we are again in day 16 of the COVID-19 isolation order from South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster. Right now, I'm getting conflicting reports on when we are going to end the social distancing or at least extend the order. I've heard April 27th and I've heard May 15th. I know the city of Myrtle Beach is closed until May 15th, which really takes you into the biker weekend. And it's probably going to be a little bit longer than that, is my guess, because businesses are going to have to slowly open. You're going to have to go and re-find those employees to take care of tourism in places like Broadway at the Beach or Market Commons or an Ocean Boulevard. And of course, professional jobs, kind of like what I do with fitness training. Now, I know I haven't had a lot of videos this week. I haven't really had any videos at all as far as outdoor exercising. I've actually been in an active recovery phase this week, just doing some stretching and walking, not really any heavy running. I did a little overuse injuries in my leg and I had to straighten out my SI joint, and I was feeling kind of funny in my lower right leg, and I think it was just the tension of the calf muscles from some of the running and jumping I was doing. Plus, we've had some unique weather. We had a couple of intense rainstorms, and I think there were some tornadoes touched down in western South Carolina. I'm not sure. And of course, it's been a little cool for mid-April. It's starting to warm up again today. But today I'm coming at you from my house, my condominium. Behind me, you see the most lived part of my house, my kitchen, and behind that is my bedroom, which goes to the front door. On the other side of this camera, which is sitting on one of my bookshelves, it is the least lived part of my house, which is my living room and my upstairs guest bedroom. I kind of started this at a younger age, cut off part of the house, because I, for the most part of my life, lived in houses with other people, including family and roommates and other things. And I try to stuff as many things in my bedroom as possible and live there as much as possible. It's unbelievable. And one day I'll show you my book collection, and I'm going to be talking about books in a minute, but today I really want to talk about, as far as your exercise goes, the philosophy of your exercise routine. Now, everybody has different motives for wanting to exercise, whether it is to get strong, whether it is to be endurable, whether it is to lose body fat, gain lean muscle tissue, be proficient in a sport, be flexible, feeling better emotionally and psychologically. We all have different reasons for wanting to get in shape. And one of the biggest things is commitment. And what you have to do, I tell everybody, clients coming in, that we're going to put together a game plan. This is how we're going to start. This is how we're going to work our way up the level of success that we want to achieve based on your strengths and weaknesses starting off, and how we're going to come up, and then we're going to plateau right here to achieve this, and this. And then once we do that, we're going to evaluate and go beyond this. And this is kind of a philosophy I've stuck with my 25 years plus of training, almost 30 years. And I also have told you I'm keeping myself busy as far as reading old exercise books, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, and some old philosophy books. And plus, I'm taken my hand at writing some books myself, some projects I said I was going to do for the last 10 years. And 2 out of the 3 book ideas, I've really started knocking it in the wood, so to speak. One of them is going to be talking about being in your best shape over the age of 40, which I can tell you this is from experience. And then also another book, which I've entitled, working title, Physical Fitness Therapy and Cognition 2. All right, this is going to kind of be more of a fitness philosophy book than anything else. And I'm going to tell you about some of the things that I've encountered and how I have had emotional recovery in my life through physical and psychological fitness. And just kind of to start off with, I had a college professor many years ago who came up with the concept of total fitness. And he said that was physical, mental, and spiritual. So what I'm going to do is I'm adding into that. I'm going to be physical, psychological, spiritual, philosophical, and economical, because I think all of that kind of goes in hand. And while this is not an autobiography, I'm going to be sharing some experiences in my life, some very personal experiences as far as overcoming certain financial restraints, relationship restraints, the fact that I moved a lot as a child and went through a lot of different schools, and how that really affected my learning, and I really didn't become that intellectual until really I began college and in my adulthood. And I'm going to tell everybody, yeah, I have suffered from manic depression for a lot of years, pretty much all of my life. It just wasn't until I got into my mid-20s that I was really understanding there were certain issues. I went on antidepressants, still am on that a little bit today, but things are good. Things are good, other than the COVID virus in 2020 for me, and me being at the age of 50 and really accomplishing a lot, going into a bodybuilding competition, a national bodybuilding competition. And I was talking to one of my college buddies for the first time in 20-something years on the phone the other day. And I was just kind of giving him the ins and outs of what I've been doing and how did I get to this point. And that's these 2 books that I mentioned. I'm going to be trying to bring that together. And my goal is to kind of finish those in mid-May and then start doing photography for those books. Okay? But anyway, one of the inspirations that I had as far as philosophy came from a book from a rock star of all people, Paul Stanley. Paul Stanley of Kiss, in his second book. This is not his autobiography. It's called Backstage Pass. And this is kind of a revelation book for him and some of the struggles he went through. And him and I've known about some of the struggles that him and I had, or had similar struggles. I just didn't know there were other struggles that went along with that I can relate to. Somehow I've always related to the Paul Stanley songs from Kiss as opposed to the Gene Simmons, the Ace Frehley, the Peter Criss, or whoever else did a lead vocal, Eric Carr, Bruce Kulick, Eric Singer, and Tommy Thayer. They all did at least one song in Kiss, but it was always mainly Gene Simmons, Paul Stanley, Ace Frehley, and Peter Criss. So I really related to Paul Stanley's music and his lyrics, whether it's Reason to Live or All Night. Okay, so in his book, he has a chapter called Vanity is Narcissism. And this really talks about his exercise philosophy. He says, and I'm going to kind of read this, the better physical shape we're in, the better prepared we are to take on other aspects of our lives. When I'm in shape, I have better relationships. When I have better relationships, I eat better. And all these many mountains we can scale, and success at one motivates us to tackle the next. Nothing could be further than the truth. And if you set your goals to achieve something, and then once you achieve it, you're going to take the next step. Whether it's to run a mile, then you're going to run a mile and a quarter, a mile and a half. Whether you're going to do a certain amount with a weight, or whether you're going to improve in a sports skill. We all want to do better. Now, he also went on to say, and he starts talking about endorphins. Additionally, endorphins are one of the strongest drugs in the world. When our endorphins are flowing, our minds are clear. When our bodies feel fit and our minds are clear, we feel ready to take on the world. I've had times when I felt I could lift a building. Luckily, I wasn't stupid enough to hurt my back and try, but there is a sense of being capable of anything. And again, nothing could be better than the truth. This is what exercise, no matter what type of exercise we do, we're trying to release endorphins, the feel good, Mother Nature's antidepressant. And for those of you who are on antidepressants, and trust me, I can relate to you very much, the better shape you are in, the more you'll find, the less that you need. Okay? Working out has become a priority in my life, knowing that anything I do to make myself better will ultimately help me in everything I do. And for those considering getting in shape, again, put that into consideration. Okay, and one more thing I am going to talk about that I agree with. I'm going to tell you about a couple of things I don't agree with. It's not what we accomplish lifting, it's how we lift and how we put the weight down. How we put the weight down is the control of motion. That's how we get in shape. We get more out of the muscles. We use them from the beginning of a movement to the end. Lifting the weight is half of it. Bringing it down is the other half. What he means is concentric versus eccentric contractions in an exercise lift. And what I'm talking about is concentric. If I'm doing a curl, I am going up with the weight against it. Now, what he's talking about, how you put it down, is called eccentric, or lengthening the muscle. And then when we take that weight and we're putting it down, here I am slowly. Wait a second. 5-pound dumbbell. How about that? Okay, so here's the concentric portion of the exercise. Here's the eccentric. You see how I'm taking my time controlling. I'm taking the weight up. It took me about a second. And then I usually get about a 4 count, 3 or 4 count to come down. So I'm 1 and 4, 3, 2, 1. This is something, and of course, any of my clients watching this really know that this is one of my philosophies, and I'm a very big stickler, almost to the point, maybe I'm a little aggravating as far as teaching people how to controllably lower a weight. Of course, when we're doing something like a deadlift, I emphasize legs, not back. Legs, not back. You don't want to bend over and anybody see your ass when putting it down. You always want to sit down with that. Now, a couple of things I'm going to say, and he kind of attacks me a little bit. And of course, this is the philosophy behind exercise. He says one of the motivating factors from this book came from the fact I wish somewhere along the line somebody in my life had been more of a peer than a steroided up muscle freak guiding me to good health. Honestly, even when I had trainers, it became apparent to me that how a trainer looks, that how a trainer looks is a very clear reflection of how the trainer thinks you should look. Mr. Stanley, nothing could be further from the truth. I don't think any of my clients should look like me. That's not what I'm getting at. I take everybody individual. That's key. If a trainer looks like he shits muscle, unless that's what you want to look like, you're with the wrong person. And again, I don't know who your current trainer is, Mr. Stanley. You mentioned in the book Jake Seinfeld, Body by Jake, and a guy named Michael Romanelli, which I have never heard of. So, and he says these days the heaviest weight I lift ever is 10 pounds. As a rule, it's more like 2 or 3 pounds, and yet I've got the body I want because of repetitions. Unless you want to become Mr. America or Stars Hercules, you want to work your muscles with repetitions, not heavy weight. And again, I am going to disagree with Paul Stanley to the extent that yes, you don't want to lift absolute overall heavy weight, but you do also have to stimulate the nervous system and the motor units. It's something called all or none principle, which means a motor unit will stimulate a muscle fiber either entirely or not at all. So it's just no real half-assing stimulation that, again, if I'm going to do a 10-pound dumbbell and I'm going to do it for 50 reps, I'm going to tone the bicep. You're going to build endurance in the muscle fibers that you tone, but if you can take a look at the circumference of the bicep right here, there's a lot of muscle fibers to stimulate. And if you're only using a light weight, let's just say I'm going to take about a quarter of that and I'm just going to stimulate that, even though they're not all grouped in one order. And then a lot of the muscles are not even going to be touched. So, yeah, and when people do ask me about, is it less weight, more reps, or more weight, less reps, to do this, do that, I say really it's neither, but it's a combination of the both. Yeah, you do want to have sets where you're doing less weight, more reps, because you really want to stimulate the muscle fiber. And I believe in the order of recruitment as far as muscle fibers are concerned. What we call order recruitment starts off with type 1 oxidative muscle fibers. Those are your endurance fibers. And then as those fibers, which are fatigue resistance, come in and they warm up, and once you put on a heavier weight, you have to recruit more muscle fibers. It's just like picking up the bookshelf that you can't see, that, one person is going to have to grab it right here, and he or she probably won't be able to move it, but the more people you have grabbing that bookshelf, now you're recruiting more people to do a task. The same thing with any piece of furniture or lifting your car to a wall. I'm just joking, coming up with a lot of nonsensical things. However, another thing I want to talk about, and this is going to kind of go back, we're getting away from Paul Stanley a little bit, now we're going to get a little bit more scientific, and that is laws of good health. In a previous Facebook post, I posted about the people who were wearing the mask, protecting themselves from the COVID, and in the meantime, they were pulling the mask off, smoking the cigarettes, smoking the cigars, vaping, whatever it is that they're doing. And I want to talk about the scientific aspect of that is, and if you didn't understand my post on Facebook, it was the hemoglobin and myoglobin content in blood, which blood has various components, and hemoglobin and myoglobin. Myoglobin, which means oxygen carrying protein to the muscle, and hemoglobin, oxygen carrying component in the red blood cells. And of course, hence the term oxygen carrying. Okay, however, they have an affinity to carbon monoxide. So if there's carbon monoxide present, the hemoglobin and myoglobin are going to go and grab that and put that into the blood system first before they go to the oxygen. And that's the sad thing about when somebody is smoking and they're putting in the carbon monoxide, or even yet when I see somebody jogging down the highway. When I go to Charleston to visit my parents, I'll come over to Bridge in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, and you'll see, say, 5 in the afternoon, Monday through Friday, the Citadel, that's the military college down in Charleston, Citadel cadets. They're running right there in mid-17 in rush hour traffic. And I hate to tell people who are running in urban traffic, that's the same thing as smoking a pack of cigarettes per 15 minutes. Okay, because that car exhaust has a lot of carbon monoxide. So if we are going to go running, go walking, do aerobic activity, do it in a clean air environment, go to the park, go to the golf course, go to the nature trail. Those are good things to really enhance oxygen capacity. Even more so than that would be to go on a mountainous terrain, which I know here in South Carolina, at least my part, there is none. But if you're lucky enough to live in a mountainous area, that's even more because of the saturation of other airborne components. But I want to talk about the sports medicine physician from 300 AD. Another book I've been reading comes from this age-old raggedy textbook. It's called Essentials in Exercise Physiology, or I guess, since you can see the nature of the book, Ancient History in Exercise Physiology. Some of this is relevant, some of it is not relevant. But Galen is how you pronounce his name, was a Greek physician that dealt a lot with Olympic exercise, and he came up with the 5 laws of good health. And one of the first he said was breathe fresh air. Breathe fresh air, kind of what we're talking about. Number 2, this goes without saying, eat proper foods. In a future video, I'm going to be talking again about nutrition, as I am also working on a nutrition specialist certification right now to take back to work with me. Also, now, this is going to open other avenues. Number 1, he said, drink the right beverages. Now go back to the Paul Stanley book, and he said the endorphins are the best drug. So, you know, I'm not saying don't drink wine, don't drink beer. And I was telling somebody today, speaking of which, when this coronavirus is over with, I am willing to bet that the Corona beer sales are going to skyrocket. I'm not going to drink any of it, but I'm going to tell you what, the Corona beer will be as hard to find as toilet paper. Trust me on that. Okay, but drinking the right beverages. Okay. Also, exercise, and this is something I've been talking about now for the last 25 minutes. Get adequate sleep. Okay, now I have a problem with this because of my busy lifestyle. In fact, a lot of times I work 2 and 3 jobs at a time. I don't get as much sleep as I need, especially Monday through Friday. On the weekends, I might get a couple extra hours here and there, but it's really hard for me to get adequate sleep. Something is weakness for me, I need to work on. Okay, and he says, have a daily bowel movement. That's the next one. Okay, that goes without saying. So, then number 7 is control your emotions. And again, something that I've had problems with in my life in this second book that I've had I'm working on. I'm hoping that I can get out and kind of express some things and how I've had to learn to control emotions over a number of years in my life. Okay, now this has just been a very long video, and hopefully the main point of this is to get a game plan for your exercise right now during the COVID isolation. And when you go back to the gym, you're going to have to start over again. You're going to have to start over again. So if you're one of these guys who think you're going to bench press 300 pounds on your first workout, maybe you can, but I wouldn't want to try. Let's start off with 100 pounds, work our way up. Check your ego at the door. Okay, so for that, everybody, I'm going to thank everybody who has watched this entire video. And I'm hoping to put this up on Friday. This is Thursday right now. And again, I got some things I got to do. In fact, I'm going to go outside and read a book while there's still sunshine out. And it is, I don't even know what time it is today. Almost 6 o'clock in the evening when I'm doing this. All right, so to all my friends, thank you for being my friends. Oh yeah, by the way, one more thing. I've got my Zoom app up, and I'm going to be telling you about Zoom and upcoming video conferences on physical fitness. All right, talk to you soon. Bye-bye.